So I have some news for you guys. The kids are all right. The kids are doing all right. Gen Z is doing its thing. They are mega based in a variety of different ways. And here we have such a great example of this. So students at the University of Texas were at this event where some Lockheed Martin ghoul was there giving a speech. By the way, University of Texas, I love how you think this is something like, oh, gosh golly, the kids will love to hear from this Lockheed Martin cretin. Like, bring in like a famous sprinter. Like something less egregious than this. But anyway, so this guy comes in. He's given some sort of a lecture. And the students go in. Now, Lockheed Martin, of course, those of you who don't know, they're a defense contractor, or as we call them, offense contractor. And look at what they do to this guy. This is glorious.
And I'm just wondering, as, let's say, an intern working on, like as a systems engineer or software engineer, I don't know if you would be able to speak on this, but would you be working on a small part of those systems? Are you working on projects with business impact? Like, would I be kind of doing like a small little side project, or would I be able to directly contribute to the murder of Palestinian children?
He had me going there for a little at the beginning when I first watched this. Like, oh, it seems like he's asking a real question about homie's job. And then at the end, he's like, would I be able to directly contribute to the murder of Palestinian children? Oh, they're not done.
Good question.
That you have a very impressive resume during the 18 years that you spent working on the F-22 jets and the years since that you worked on the F-35. If you were to give an estimate, how many children do you think you've killed?
I don't even know how to answer that question, nor will I give it a shot.
Because they got your ass, homie. They got your ass. You're part of a system that generates machines of death and gives them to the world's dictatorships and horrific human rights abusing regimes. Damn. By the way, for real though, there's a lesson in this. The lesson is, if you want to do some sort of protest, if you want to do some sort of civil disobedience at, say, a rally for a politician or something like that, don't do the, I'm just going to get up and start screaming at the top of my lungs and look totally unhinged and get dragged out of there by security within a minute and a half. Don't do that. Wait until a Q&A portion, raise your hand, and calmly ask a real but also aggressive question. Exactly what these kids are doing is exactly right. Because then, now you'll notice, he's put on the spot and he actually has to sort of address it. He has to. Because the question's asked in a deadpan way, very straightforward. There's a core of absolute truth in it. And so he's like, I don't know how to answer that. This helps expose it so much more. It just does. I think that this is exactly how you should do a protest. And apparently, I don't know how many of them planned this out beforehand, but it's brilliant. Let's keep going.
I don't even know how to answer that question, nor will I give it a shot.
Thank you.
Hey boss, as a business major, company culture is a big factor when looking for internships, especially at a project manager position where you can spend most of your time working with others. What can you share about company culture and working with a team of genocide supporters and murderers?
That's another one I'm not going to answer because that's not who I work with.
Yeah, but it kind of is. It kind of is. Look, when we talk about Raytheon and Boeing and Halliburton and Honeywell and Lockheed Martin and all, like some of these companies, yes, some of these companies do some things that have nothing to do with war. They do. Some of them just, hey, I build commercial airplanes, right? Like those people, you get a pass. You didn't do anything wrong, right? If you're directly involved in making the machines of death that you then know will be given to 73% of the world's dictatorships, given to Saudi Arabia, given to Israel, and you know that they're using it to massacre innocent civilians on a daily basis, yes, you can try to do the logic of like, I'm so many degrees removed from the actual committing of the crime that I don't feel responsible. But I don't think that's a solid enough explanation or justification to make it so that when I lay my head down on my pillow at night, I feel okay about it. I just don't. If you work for if you work for a company that just makes regular guns for consumption in the U.S., let's say Ruger, for argument's sake, and mostly like hunting rifles or whatever, yeah, 99% of the time, or more than that, those weapons are just going to be used for target practice. They're going to be used for hunting. And so I don't see any moral qualm there. I don't see any huge problem there. I do see a massive issue with working for a defense contractor, which is really an offense contractor, being part of the military-industrial complex, which churns out weapons of war to be used in mass slaughters and violations of international law and endless war crime after war crime. I see a huge problem with that. I do. I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to work in that scenario. I just wouldn't. It's not enough degrees removed to, like, you know, make me feel comfortable with it. Now, like, if this guy has a kid and, you know, he pays for everything for the kid like any parent would, right? Is that kid guilty? No. That's enough layers removed where it's like, you're just a kid, you know, you're not responsible for this in any way, shape, or form. But, like, if you have the engineering skills and the ability to work in a field that does not contribute to genocide, well, do that. Do that, right? It reminds me of, I always said, the Chomsky answer to the question of, is political violence ever acceptable? The answer he gives is, I think he used the Vietnam War as an example. He said, if you have a shipment of tanks or planes or weapons that are going to be sent to Vietnam where you know it's going to be used to massacre landless peasants, and you decide no human being is there, nobody's going to get hurt, but we're going to go sink the ship that has all these weapons on it that are about to be sent, or you know, blow up the airplane. Yeah, in that scenario, it sounds like, just to a normie looking at that, it's like, oh my God, you just committed a crime. It's a terrible property crime. You're going to go to prison for that. It's not good. But if you actually get into the weeds and the specifics of whether or not it's morally justified, I think there's a phenomenal argument it is morally justified. Because nobody's getting hurt and you're preventing, or at least delaying, the killing of innocent people. The same way early on with Israel and Gaza, you had people trying to block ships that were sending weapons to Israel. That is the best kind of protest I could ever think of, right? And, you know, what we're looking at here, I feel like it's a similar thing. If you're working for Lockheed or Raytheon or any of these companies that are just regularly churning out weapons used for war crime after war crime, at some point, you really need to look yourself in the mirror and say, do I want to be part of this system that is bringing about so much death and destruction, right? And you could say, hey, they don't make the policies. It's not them that make the decisions where to send the weapons, and so they're just following orders and stuff. But you got to understand, that was literally the argument used by Nazis at the Nuremberg trials. Hey, wasn't me, dog. I'm not Hitler. I didn't come up with the policies. I was just following orders. Well, that wasn't a sufficient answer when you talk about the level and degree of atrocities that were going on a regular basis. It just wasn't a good enough answer. People still said, meh, you have enough free agency where you could have sort of done something else that didn't contribute to all these murders. You know, that's the reaction. And I agree with that. You know, again, like I said, I think it's actually a nuanced conversation when you get to how many degrees removed, how many layers removed are you from the heart of the evil acts. And at some point, it's, yeah, they're really not responsible for it. I don't know what you want me to tell you. This guy, would I say he's responsible for what's happening? No. But is he a key and crucial part that allows it to happen? Yeah. Yeah. Now, to be fair, I'll end on this point. I honestly have no idea what the guy actually does. So I don't know if he's like a pencil pusher at Lockheed, you know, he does like accounting shit. That's totally different. I would, you know, for that, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as if you're like literally engineering and building the weapons that are used for mass slaughter, you know? So, but maybe these students know something I don't. Maybe that is exactly what he's engaged in. And if that is the case, totally fair. And look, like the anger has bubbled up so much. The anger that everybody has bubbled up so much that they cannot take it anymore. They can't take it. You know, people who actually know what's going on in this scenario, Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, young Americans, I think it's over 50%. No, it is 50% exactly of Biden voters from 2020 say, I think Israel's committing a genocide. And they know that we're arming it and funding it. The anger's palpable, man. And it ain't enough to just try to slap it aside or shame people for expressing the concern. It's got to be addressed. The course has to be changed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, guys, that's the show. I love you all very much, as always. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe. Trying to grow as much as possible. Get to that 10 million sub number. Get that next plaque. Mr. Beast, I'm coming for you. PewDiePie, if he's still a thing, I'm coming for you. Whoever else are the top YouTubers, I'm coming for you. Will I come up insanely short? Yes. Am I going to never be even 1/100th of what you are? Yes. but I'll try. I'm still going to try. And you guys can help by subbing. I'd appreciate that. And again, thank you to everybody who supports this show on Patreon. Links below if you'd like to do that. I've never talked to an advertiser. You guys help fund this show from the ground up. I'm deeply, deeply appreciative. Check out Crystal Kyle and Friends this week. We have Mehdi Hassan coming on the show. Really interested to have that conversation. There's a lot to talk to him about. And that's it. I love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.